Thanks everyone so much for joining. Great to see such a good turnout for this webinar. Daniel and I are going to take you through 4 steps to boost your social selling with ABM. I'm Jiggy Patel, Head of Customer Experience here at Gold Vision, and I'll let Daniel introduce himself.
Hi, I'm Daniel Disney. I'm a LinkedIn social selling trainer, speaker, and author. I've written 2 books, The £1 Million LinkedIn Message, which is the red book, and The Ultimate LinkedIn Sales Guide, which is the black book. And Jiggy, I'm so excited to be back again covering this. We've got some really good tips and insights to share. So yeah, excited to get going.
Resident expert, so no, absolutely. Let's kick off. And like I say, any questions, please feel free to post those as we're going through. So if you haven't yet noticed, social media is absolutely transforming the sales process and what we're doing in terms of selling and, being in a sales involvement. Your customers, your prospects, you're probably finding they're speaking to you less on the phone, very much so with access to all the information that's out there on social platforms. You'll find that people are actually becoming their own experts before they come and speak to you. If you're not on social platforms yet, I'm guessing that you're joining this webinar because it's something you're interested in, and it's an area that you'd like to be more expert in. With that, I'm going to run a very quick poll just to give Daniel and I a bit more of an idea. But if you can just let us know, are you already engaged on social platforms and doing social selling? Or is this something that you're here to learn about, or you don't think it's for you? Just give us an idea of whereabouts you're at on your journey, because that would be really useful.
I think all of those options are exactly what I see when I talk to people on a daily basis. Some people are using it daily, but keen to learn more. Some people are using it, but still learning at the same time. Some aren't using it yet. They know they need to, but they're keen to learn how to use it. And then there are a few that just don't know if it's right. And I mean, today we'll hopefully uncover some of the answers to that. But great to see lots of people getting involved and certainly lots of people keen to learn. You're in the right place.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's very much social selling doesn't stay stagnant, does it, Daniel? Very much. No. I'm still learning every day. I'm learning from my colleagues. I'm learning from my peers. I'm learning from you. So it's something that, every day you'll learn something new. And there's a lot of material out there. There are a lot of resources, but hopefully we can give you some tips if you haven't yet started and you're just beginning.
Just to add a credit, Jiggy, before you jump into the next slide, I know we did this webinar earlier today for our sort of core UK audience, and at this stage in the webinar, I mentioned one of the new features. We talk about always learning. Even you and I, we're still learning, and LinkedIn have just launched Cover Stories, which is your opportunity to record a 30-second mini video that goes in where your profile photo is on your profile. And I mentioned that I was going to record mine today, which I can confirm I have now done. You can look at my profile. The link is in the chat box, and you'll see an orange circle ring around my profile photo. When you hover over it, you'll see they do a 3-second intro. When you click on it, you'll see a little video that I've recorded. So again, today I'm implementing new things. I'll be testing it, but just important to understand that LinkedIn, that there's no finish line with this. It is ever evolving, which is great because there are always new features that you can utilize.
But with that, your profile is something you should be looking at all of the time. If you haven't yet got onto it, it's something that shouldn't be stagnant. As you're learning, as you're developing, keep your profile up to date. So the webinar is very much focused on how you can use social selling for ABM. Well, what is ABM? Account-based marketing. It's a strategic approach which will help you align both your sales and marketing efforts, but really start to become more targeted and open doors and engagement to prospects, but also customers that you might already be working with. Some of you are probably using ABM techniques, but not even realizing there are loads of different forms of ABM. You might be using a one-to-one form of ABM where you've picked a particular customer or prospect that you're planning to grow or work with in a deeper engagement and a deeper relationship. Other forms of ABM are one-to-many, for instance, and it's very much been born from where we may have done mass email marketing in the past, and mass email marketing, for various reasons, including data protection regulations, is becoming less and less. And marketing teams are being far more coordinated and targeted in the approach that they're taking. And ABM is one of those approaches that you can use. What we're going to hit on in this webinar is how you can use ABM, how you can achieve ABM as well. And I found this quite handy infographic which just shows you the circle of how to achieve ABM. And what it allows you to do is just become more consistent and have a truly honed in and customized experience that you can show. Starting with accounts, who are the accounts that you're wanting to target or grow? Who are the contacts? What are their personas? Are there specific target contacts that you're aiming for? But then start thinking about, well, what are the insights and how can I build some kind of content, some messaging to really engage with this group of prospects, customers, contacts, or personas that I've actually picked out. Think about your campaign, how you're going to plan, and how you're going to actually orchestrate this. Is it going to be via webinars? Are you going to do social posts? Are you going to do blogs? Or all of the above, all combined at the same time? And of course, once you've decided on your plan, you've put together your campaign, you want to be able to measure it. So that's how to do ABM. What we're going to hit on a little bit further in this webinar is how you can use some of those social techniques to capture ABM as a strategy as well.
You mentioned it earlier, Jiggy, but a lot of people are doing this without realizing they are doing these activities either in sync or maybe just scattered. And once you start to realize that it is and should be used as a strategy, you can start to sew it all together. And what you create is a flowchart like this. And one of the important things to remember is it's an ever moving cycle. Again, there is no point where you stop. You keep doing it, whether you end up winning the account or reaching and engaging with new ones. It's a constant process, but it's important to understand all of those components and make sure you're doing them in the right order, you're doing them consistently, and you're doing it with value.
Yeah, I've heard more recently, and we even in our sales and marketing team that's aligned, we call them sales plays now, where we're building a campaign and we're deciding, well, how are we going to actually target that sales play? How are we going to play it out, and how are we going to take it further? It's exactly the same thing that you probably are doing. It's got a name against it, ABM, and it will help you just be that more, not regimented, but consistent in the approach that you can actually measure what you're doing.
Exactly.
So how can I manage ABM? Well, we've defined 4 particular steps that Daniel and I are going to sort of take you through. Number 1, align your staff with your social strategy. Really important. Focus on the right accounts rather than every account. Engage with relevant insights, which will ultimately help you build those trusted relationships and really take you to the next level. So without further ado, number 1 of those is align your staff to your social strategy, a really important step. And we can see that a number of you on the webinar today are already doing some social selling. And hopefully, in your organizations or as individuals, you've already started to do some of this. But develop ingrained social media processes and best practices. Decide what's right for you and your business, because what works for someone else might not work for you. Certainly something that we did was look at what our competitors were doing, what our customers were doing, and decide whether or not those were right for our brand and our ethics as well. Absolutely, that is step number 1, because you don't want you or your team to be doing something that isn't quite right for your branding. Aligning sales and marketing efforts is a big plus, because you're going to work together on this journey. It really is a team play. What you want to be able to do is be an advisory service as a team as a whole, but for the rest of the employees that you're trying to engage with you. Because ultimately you want social selling not just to be an individual thing. You want the whole team to be on board with it, and you want everyone to help you along that journey as well. So driving employee engagement, giving that support, but helping everyone understand what your brand is and how you're going to work with your social strategy is really, really key. And what we're trying to do is establish each of our employees as a trusted professional partner. Whatever they're posting, whatever they're doing in terms of engagement and building their network, you want them to be confident in the way that they're approaching that. Daniel, of course, I've posted up his book at the bottom of that screen. If you are learning, the Ultimate Guide absolutely is one that you should get in your playlist and have a read of, because it will certainly give you some tips and tricks to get you moving.
So our second point, and a really important point that me and Jiggy really sort of delved deep in when we were planning this session, is about leading by example. And whenever you try and implement something new, it is crucial that people high up the hierarchy are leading by example. They're using social media, social selling themselves, and in doing so, encouraging their team to do that. And there's multiple ways you can do that. Number one is to integrate it within your sales process. Make sure it's there, it's in the guidance. Put it in their calendar if you need to. Give them time to spend utilizing social media. Make sure you're empowering them to do it. Schedule it. Again, put it into your strategy, put it into your sales process. Just make it clear and simple. And then another important bit is to be active yourself. Some of the best and most successful companies that are utilizing LinkedIn and social selling especially are the ones where the leaders are using it themselves. Yeah. They're sharing insights. They're supporting their team. It could be promoting your successful team members on LinkedIn, giving them a pat on the back. It could be showing insights into what it's like working within the sales team or the business. What is really important, and something I find a lot of sales leaders struggle with, and I get it, it's a pretty uncharted territory, is measuring it. They're not sure what to measure, how to measure. And 2 tips just to help you in that area. Number one, LinkedIn has its own measurement tool, which is the SSI, the Social Selling Index. You can get it free if you just Google LinkedIn SSI. It will take you through to a link. You click the link and it will give you your score absolutely free. It's a score out of 100, and it measures some of the behind the scenes metrics that LinkedIn holds for how the individual is using LinkedIn. The other thing to measure, and this is where it's really important, I know we're going to cover this very shortly, to use sort of tools like a good CRM, but to measure the other metrics. Yeah. How many deals did you close this month that came from social selling? How many new opportunities were created via social selling activities? These are things you manually need to manage, and there is nothing better than a good CRM like Gold Vision to record those sort of activities. And the final point, my most favorite point of all, value the outcome over the activity. You can tell your salespeople to spend as much time as you think they need to on LinkedIn, but unless you're focusing on that outcome, you won't get it. If you direct your people just to an SSI score, as an example, they'll do all the activities to get a good SSI score. That doesn't guarantee an outcome. But if you say, we want you to generate this amount of revenue or this amount of sales, that's what they'll focus on. So outcome over activity all the time.
That's so true. And with everything that's happening right now, look at your current sales processes and build your social strategy into that sales process. Daniel, you're absolutely right. Make sure that your sales team have got the time to follow up on some of these, engagement tools that you're starting to use. I mean, I know for me, getting going, the SSI score actually drove me to be consistent and get onto LinkedIn and engage daily. So it's whatever works for you, but we also talk quite often about champions. Not everyone is going to be natural at social selling, and it will take more learning. But if you've got champions in your business, champions in your team that you can learn from, use those champions to get you started and learn from them, because it will take away the fear factor more than anything.
No, I completely agree. And every company has a champion. Every company, whether you know it or not, there'll be someone in your business that is either already using LinkedIn and social selling, or maybe uses social media in other channels and has a knack for it. Yeah. And those are the people you want to bring on board, because they can really help accelerate the process.
Absolutely. So focus on the right accounts was number 2 that we put on our list. And there are a number of different ways to focus on the right accounts. I mentioned email marketing and email blasts previously. Gone are those days. Now's the time to really focus down. And this could be on a vertical market that you want to concentrate. It could be on growth accounts that you've not engaged with for a while. Pick the right accounts. Now, a CRM tool can certainly help with deciding which are the right accounts to help you segment that data, look at who's recently bought from you, or look who hasn't bought from you recently, and pick and choose the accounts that you really want to engage with. Use your tool to set up reminders. Social listening can be really useful if it's integrated with your CRM. Web tracking, for instance, who's been on certain pages on my website, and maybe assign a score to them so that you can nurture those leads further. But a tool like CRM can be really useful at the beginning of this journey to pin down on who you want to target and the insights you want to target them with. Ultimately, also, there are various other tools that can be really useful. We've posted a few of them up here. LinkedIn Sales Navigator, obviously Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn are key platforms that we're using, but I've posted also Seamless AI as a sales engagement tool that I've been using more recently, and I'm sure there are many, many more out there that can be useful. Find the tool that's right for you, I'd say, is the right thing. Sales Navigator is great. It can offer a free trial, but it can also be expensive if it's not something you're using straight off. And I think we'd both advocate start simple and get used to social selling before you pay for something.
Oh, there is so much you can do on LinkedIn before you use Sales Navigator. It doesn't take away from how amazing Sales Navigator is as a tool,
Yeah.
but there is so much you can do. One of the best comparisons I can give, it's like joining a gym. We could all join a lovely gym and pay 50, 60 pounds a month. But if we don't go there and use it properly, we're not going to see results. There's also the reality there's a lot we could do at home to exercise and get fit before we then up the game and go to a gym. So Sales Navigator, amazing tool, but master the basics. You don't need Sales Navigator to have a good profile, to share content, to build your brand. So there's lots you need to do before you kind of consider it.
I agree. And when it comes to picking the right accounts, that's something you can do away from any tools. Sit down and think about, well, where am I successful? Where am I not successful? Where do I want to be successful? Who have I got that I can engage with right now? And start to build your network and really work at it in that way. Engage with relevant insights is the next step in our ABM boost. Now, this can be done in a number of ways, and I've posted on this particular screen different posts that both Daniel and I have done. But if you look at almost the process, make connections, follow a company, like, share, comment on posts, that's probably something we're all doing. But now it's time to take it to the next level. Find target contacts that you want to engage with. You might have contacts that you're already working with, but now's your chance to get on LinkedIn, engage with contacts, but look for additional target contacts that could be useful for you. I certainly use Sales Navigator as a tool to track movements of contacts. I may have been connected with an individual contact who's now moved to a different organization. Sales Navigator is great at providing alerts where a contact moves to a different organization so that you can now maybe engage with them again. But here's the key: share relevant posts such as blogs, maybe an event that's happened. Maybe you've found a relevant post that you want to share that might be engaging to the rest of your network as well. You can really boost your ABM strategy by creating posts, sharing posts, and then ultimately tracking the views of those posts, because they could be leads that you can then generate and follow up. Some of the posts that you've got on here, when it comes to ABM, I'll explain how I actually worked with these. Both of those posts that I've got up on the right-hand side of the screen, at the time, I was running a social engagement via LinkedIn where I'd picked 20 to 25 organizations that I wanted to engage with, and I was directly messaging them. At the same time as I'm directly messaging them, we as our business ran a webinar on that particular vertical market where certain features, functionality could resonate with that particular industry. I did an account management call with a customer in the same vertical market. And I just asked them at the time, would you mind if I post on LinkedIn and put a couple of pictures about what we're actually working with you on at the time? So I'm building and I'm homing in on all of these different areas, but hitting the same vertical market with various different bits of content. Maybe do a blog at the same time. It will pitch you as an expert in that field more than anything else. But, don't be afraid to do these posts. Think of, we had a number of questions in our previous session, didn't we, Daniel? So what should I post about? What content can I think of? And really, it just takes a little bit of thinking, doesn't it? It could be anything.
There's content opportunities all around you, and sometimes you just need to not overthink it, but just look for something that may be beneficial to your audience. You've got two types of posts. You could do one that's going to provide them some sort of value or insight or knowledge relevant to them, or you do, as you put the examples in, Jiggy, you do examples of things that are happening in your work, customer success stories, sharing something that happened today. Maybe you had a good phone call, maybe you had a good meeting, and you share that story. And what that does is it shows that you're credible, shows that you're actually, delivering and achieving, which then attracts people to want to be a part of that success. But it's not too difficult. It's just kind of opening your eyes. The core through it all is that it gives value, whether it's value to them as knowledge or insight, or whether it's value by letting them get to know you a little bit better. That value goes a long way. It's the give to get mentality. Instead of just advertising what you sell, you're giving them something first.
And one thing I would say is every customer that I've asked, would you mind if I post on LinkedIn, or every contact that I've worked with, I've never had a no.
Huh?
Never had a no. So it's a case of just don't be scared to ask, because what's the worst that can happen? You don't do the post. So taking it on, building trusted relationships is the next step. And absolutely what we're thinking about here is social awareness, social engagement. You've got to start. You've got to be somewhere to get onto the platforms, build your network, and start sharing your stories. You might have feedback from customer success stories. And if you ask the question on those calls, do you mind if I post? It's a great opportunity to actually get out there and get your brand awareness. Marketing and sales alignment is a key one. Certainly for us in our business, we now have joint sales and marketing meetings, and it really helps to build that picture. As a sales team, we're aware of pain points that our customers, prospects are going through, and we're aware of what content might resonate with them. But the marketing team are there to help us to build that content and make it as engaging as possible. With that, you can then celebrate your successes. Get out on LinkedIn, post the posts that you want to, but post on behalf of your customers as well. Share their successes. I'd also say celebrate those successes internally as well as externally, because this will allow you to measure how you're doing and build that engagement even further. We have a channel internally on Teams, for instance, where we're just sharing. If we're going to do a post, for instance, we'll post up. Everyone else will then share that post, and it just allows you to make that post go a little bit more viral more than anything else. Ultimately, you're going to hope that by sharing those posts, by your customers, prospects sharing those posts, is going to build you brand awareness. And you will certainly find that your contacts, your customers start selling your brand for you. I've certainly had the situation where when I've posted, I've had customers pitch in and say, yes, best thing I've used them for a number of years. They're doing the selling for you.
Is going to be more trustworthy or effective at selling you than a happy customer who you've served. And so if you can encourage that, it just goes miles. So, I completely agree, Jiggy. One of the things, the whole marketing and sales alignment is so important. I've worked with companies where sales and marketing hate each other. And I know it's a historic thing in business, but now with social selling, with ABM, it's brought sales and marketing together. And I think it's important. The more you can work together, the more you'll get out of it. Salespeople need to do marketing activities. Marketing need to understand the customers that the salespeople are serving. And so it is crucial you work together. And if it needs to be done, bash heads together, drop egos, leave egos at the door, come in and collaborate, because you will both benefit significantly by doing so.
Absolutely. And the worst thing that you want is if you're on your social selling road and you're part of an organization, the worst thing that can happen is that you're not aligned, because you will be bashing heads, and that really isn't what you want. So it's certainly, tip number one, get aligned together so that you're both reading from the same story, and you'll absolutely help each other. So taking that on. How can a CRM system help you? Some of the tips that we've given you, obviously your CRM system is ultimately one place where you've got the truth. It's a single point of truth. It's a shared solution. Everyone can see the same information. Lead management is absolutely crucial. If you're on your road to social selling, you're building your network, you're engaging, a tool like lead management will help you just capture these leads and allow you to nurture them using tools such as marketing automation. Make sure you're using a CRM system that's integrated with your email marketing, because when you're nurturing these leads, when you're nurturing these prospects, you'll ultimately be able to see, well, who's clicked through, who's opened, who's engaging with me, who's on my website, who's looking at me. Start scoring that interaction, start tracking via your website, and then start to hit those prospects, those leads that are actually showing some interest. Use your campaigns, use that ROI to start to measure how successful are your campaigns being. And a CRM system should also be able to help you with event management, but also content planning. If you have started to build your content, and I would absolutely, if you are thinking about social selling, think about writing blogs, putting together webinars, putting together as much resource that you can, even if you're finding that resource from trusted locations where you agree with the author. Start to share that content because it will really help you.
It really does, and I can't stress enough the importance of using technology and tools to really amplify this. It's without it, you're going out there blind, and it becomes very hit and miss. But when you start to leverage these platforms, you start to create real control over the business and the outcomes. And if you're running a sales team or you have a business that's growing, it's important to have them. And I've worked and used pretty much every CRM out there, and I'm a huge fan and advocate for Gold Vision because it makes it so simple and easy to use. One of the biggest challenges companies have is getting their sales team, their employees, to actually use the CRM. It's one thing paying for one, but getting them to use it is a challenge. And you know, Gold Vision's enjoyable to use, but it helps deliver better results when it comes to using ABM and social selling, because you can see what works, you can track it, you can make sure you're orchestrating that process perfectly. And so, you know, this is the final sort of cherry on top, the important detail to utilizing this all. Make sure you're using technology to get the most out of it.
Absolutely. And it should be a simple process. It should be quick so that you can start to measure and engage as soon as possible. If anyone needs any advice on CRM and how CRM can help, or even a quick demo on how CRM can help, absolutely no problem. Come and talk to me. I'd be more than happy to help you. So just finishing off, times are absolutely changing. In fact, I say times are changing. They have changed. If you're not on social platforms yet, absolutely start to get onto them, start engaging, start posting, build your customer stories, build your content, and start sharing it, because that is going to spearhead you as that trusted partner, that trusted advisor. It's going to sell your brand, but also it's going to allow you to really build that engagement and take it to the next level.
Organic reach on LinkedIn at the moment is still at an all-time prime, but it's not going to last forever. It won't be long. LinkedIn will become like Facebook. It will become a pay-to-play model. But right now, you don't have to spend a penny to generate crazy big results on LinkedIn. You just need to do a lot of the activities we've mentioned today. But now is the time to start. Now is the time to start doing it. It won't be long before it won't be as easy to sort of catapult that. So yeah, I would definitely recommend start using it, start playing around, start learning, start testing it and trying it. Now is definitely one of the best times to do it.
And as Adam says, providing value-added content, absolutely key. You know, give value as part of your engagement. I think you said it in the previous webinar, didn't you, Daniel? You know, value, value, value. When it comes to messaging, make sure that that's what you're giving. Don't make it personal to you, make it personal to them.
People don't care about you, they care about what you can do for them. So the more you make all of this about your customers and prospects, the better you're going to generate from it. So yeah, it's an important thing to remember. We sometimes put our sales hat on and all we do is we just want to sell to everyone, and we need to switch that off, not just on social, in all areas of sales, and just start to give value to our prospects. As you said at the very start, Jiggy, our prospects have more power and knowledge than they've ever had before. So we need to step up our game and make sure we still have lots to offer them.
Absolutely. So with that, are there any questions? Thank you so much, everyone, for joining us today. I have got a treat for you, and that is our social selling ebook. For those of you that are still getting started or learning, or for those of you that are already engaging, feel free to download our ebook. If you've got any questions, please post those into the chat. Daniel and I are more than happy to answer any questions that you've got.
A real credit to you, Jiggy, and the team at Gold Vision for giving this ebook during the webinar. Most would sort of gate it or charge for it. And I love that everyone can just download it now. So if you haven't already, take advantage of it. It's a great guide, some extra tips. And as we said, just start using it. But we are here. So if you have questions, pop them in the chat box. We would love to help out over the next five minutes or so. So ask away. We're here. Let's get some good questions. But great to see so many people downloading it and appreciating it. I hope it helps.
No, thanks everyone for joining. And if you do need to shoot off, please do go ahead. And for anyone else, if you've got any questions.
Yeah, so we've got a few coming through. Nancy's asking, what type of social media analytical tools would you suggest? There are a few out there. For LinkedIn, there's one called Shield, Shield, I think .ai or shieldapp.ai. Now, the only thing I would mention with things like that is start using it first before you start heavily tracking it through those external apps. Track the basics through your CRM, but I wouldn't start using tools unless you've been active for sort of 6 months and you're starting to generate some real results. But Shield is the best one for LinkedIn at the moment.
Cool. Any advice on a first blog post? That's a good one. Yeah, I mean, certainly build your blog post on something that you know, something that's engaging, something that's about your brand, about you, and which is going to give value. But what I found quite useful was building my story and then starting my first blog on the first part of that story, and then building on my blogs and that story week on week, month on month. That can certainly help.
I like that. It's a great idea, Jiggy. Another option to throw in there, take your target prospect and write an article with 5 tips relevant to them. So if you're targeting IT directors, write an article with 5 top tips or the 5 trends for IT directors in 2021. If you don't have that knowledge, chances are people in your company will. If they don't, go out and ask. Run a couple of LinkedIn polls, asking questions, get the insights, put it into an article. There's so many different ways you can do it. The key to both Jiggy's and my suggestions is it's got to be valuable to your audience.
And content doesn't all have to be yours. It could be a blog that you've seen that resonates with you, that could be engaging for your prospect or customer base. So sharing those can be really useful tips as well. I mean, one of the tools I've used previously is Feedly. Just looking on Feedly at content and deciding what content from Feedly to share can be quite useful.
Yeah, no, it's really good. So I've just seen another good question coming in talking about InMails. We've talked a bit about Sales Navigator today and as and when to use it. So Shika makes a good point that InMails are the coldest form of messaging you're going to get. It's kind of probably even colder than a cold call in reality. They are good. It's worth using the credits. My key to this, again, what determines your success with InMails is how much you make it about them. So the more you make it about them, the more research you do, the more personalization you include, the better you're going to get. What a lot of people do that is a big mistake is they just make it about themselves. So my name's Dan, this is what I sell, here's a few features and benefits, here's a link to my calendar, or are you free tomorrow to chat? And that is all about you. You're not going to get a response. But if you make it about them, it could be, hey, Jiggy, love that post you shared yesterday. Had a good look at your profile. And actually, I see that you work at Gold Vision and we work with some similar companies. I'm instantly opening it about Jiggy. I'll talk a bit about what I think I can do for her and how I could do that. And you're going to get a far greater response. So when it comes to InMails and messages, the more you make it about them, the bigger the chance you'll get a response.
And I've certainly found keeping it simple without War and Peace essay
100%.
helps as well.
No, I completely agree. I've had some essays. I've got one I use in my training sessions, and I've had to break it into 3 sections to fit it on a slide. It was that long a message. So yeah, keep it short and simple all the way.
Any other questions from, can still see we've got everyone still joining us.
That's
Feel
true.
free to post those in.
Yeah, ask away. Great to see everyone still here though. And as Jiggy said, if anyone needs to go, we appreciate you coming in. And my door's open. I know Jiggy's is as well. If you have any questions about CRMs, if you have questions about LinkedIn and social media or ABM, just ping us questions. We're keen to help and see you guys succeed.
We'd love to hear your stories when you do get going too.
100%.
Do
100%.
link in with us and tell us how it goes, because who knows, we could learn something too.
Everyone's learning. We're all learning. We want to see you guys go and practice this, apply it, and keep us up to date with the journey. But if there's any last questions, now's your chance. Pop them into the chat box. We're happy to stay and answer a couple more. Keen to help in as many ways as possible.
Do link in with us, and feel free to get in touch with us after the session as well if there are any further questions.
Yeah, no, 100%. Looks like everyone's happy though, Jiggy. You're not seeing any questions coming through. Last chance, final calls for any questions before we wrap this up. But hopefully, the ones we've answered have been helpful. Hopefully the session has been helpful. And now you take the biggest challenge. You need to go and apply it. Apply what you've learned today and just go start using it.
Absolutely. You won't know until you get on that journey what works for you or what doesn't work for you. So give it a go and absolutely come and share your success, your tips. And, one thing we say is it's not a quick win with social selling. Keep at it, keep consistent, and I'm sure it will reap rewards for you.
Well, we look forward to seeing, hopefully, a lot of you on LinkedIn over the coming days and weeks. Do keep us up to date with your journey and any questions you have. But, Jiggy, this has been an absolute privilege. There is nothing I love more than delivering webinars with you because you bring so much value. So this was a lot of fun.
Oh, absolute pleasure, Daniel. Thank you so much for joining, everyone. All the best and good luck.
Yeah, we will see you all soon. Take care, everyone.
Thank you.
Bye.